Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Nick from ForexNews.com with a daily analysis. Today is, yeah, it is cool. Today is Tuesday the 28th of May 2019. Time is 9 here in the UK. You're looking at AUDJPY daily chart. Let's pop up to a New Zealand CAD daily chart and we'll get started from there. Now, today's webinar is going to be a public webinar. Today's analysis session is going to be a public analysis session. Last week, we did members-only analysis for the whole week. Things were a little bit different last week. But this week, we are going to be doing our normal schedule of public analysis on Tuesday, members-only on Wednesday, and public on Thursday. So let's get back into it. Last week I shared sorry. I was about to say something very wrong there. I didn't share this trade. I think someone on the forum shared this trade. I entered it, but I didn't share it myself. A bit of a weird pair, New Zealand CAD, but I posted to the forum towards the end of... my initial target was 1.5R. I posted to the forum before it hit 1.5R saying that I would be extending it to 2 and then extending it further and holding it over the weekend. Look, the reason I extended this, first of all, this was against the trend. So counter trend trades usually have a smaller target, 1.5R. But because it moved so quickly towards my target, it just didn't really make sense to close out that quickly. So I kept it open. And it didn't really perform that well on Friday. This was the Friday candle. It did make a new high, but it pretty much closed at the high of Thursday's candle. It just didn't really go as well as the previous day, but it didn't go bad, I guess. And then on Monday's candle, it pretty much just went sideways. Didn't really do anything important. Didn't really gain any ground. Basically, I'm going to let today's candle decide things. If today it makes a new high beyond yesterday's candle, even better if it makes a new high beyond Friday's candle, I'll keep this open. It looks like it's trying to do that now, but it equaled the high and it's failed to really break through it. But if it starts pushing up now, I'll keep this trade open. Otherwise, I'm going to close this out. Now, some of you might think, well, that seems like a bit of an early exit. But you have to keep in mind that my rules are when I'm trading against the trend, and this is a pretty strong and powerful trend here on New Zealand CAD. When I'm trading against the trend, my target's 1.5R. So I've already extended this target significantly. So exiting now would not be an early exit. It would just be, just be a kind of normal exit, really. Moving on to, I already have a few pairs marked where there's potential setups, guys. Because I had a quick scan of the charts when I first woke up this morning. Didn't do a full scan, so there might be some other pairs that have setups below, which we will look for. But AUDJPY, now AUDJPY, like this one, I'm not crazy about it, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. So when it first dropped down to here, week before last, it had this little indecision candle forming on support. At this point, I was looking for a long trade. I forgot to say hi. Hi, Steve, Rizwana, and Sydney. And everyone else who's in here. It's a bit earlier than our normal starting time today, so I don't think there's as many people in here as usual, but it's nice to see you guys here. Actually, before we get into AUDJPY, we've discussed the open trade. Let's take a quick look at the calendar. Filter out those ones. So today at 10 p.m. in the evening, we have the Rbnz Financial Stability Report. This could cause some moves on New Zealand. It's only 2 times a year this report comes out, so it could cause some moves. And if it doesn't, then you got Rbnz Governor Orr speaking 2 hours later, which, wow, he has a busy day today. Speaking here about this report, then the ANZ business confidence comes out, and then he's going to be speaking about that one. So, well, yeah, interesting. I have a New Zealand trade open. Oops. I have a New Zealand trade open, and we have a whole mess of New Zealand news coming out. Hey, Sonia. Right. I might close this out tonight, guys. We also have CAD news coming out tomorrow at 3 p.m. Yeah, I'm gonna see how this one goes. I'm unlikely to keep this open overnight. This is when you got speeches, things can get pretty crazy. You got the Rbnz financial stability report that could cause some movement. I'm gonna reassess what I said about that New Zealand CAD setup. I hadn't really properly looked at the news yet because yesterday was a bank holiday, so I wasn't really trading as normal. I was just scanning the charts briefly yesterday. But I'm gonna, well, there's more people here than I thought. Hey, Sonia, Andre, and Graham. Yeah, I'm most likely gonna close this one out, guys. Not right now. I'm gonna give it today to see what it does if it manages to make those new highs. But I don't want to keep this open overnight. This is kind of worst case scenario, really. We've got 2 speeches within a few hours of each other. We got one pretty significant report. The ANZ business confidence is not as significant, but it has been known to cause some moves. It's just not really worth keeping this trade open. It's already beyond my target, my initial target. It is counter to the trend. Now, of course, I could wake up tomorrow morning after closing this out, and the news could have caused it to shoot up like crazy. But you know, that's always a gamble, keeping it open during news and speeches. It's always a gamble. If you do it every single time, you're likely to lose overall. So I'll probably close this out by the end of today. Anyway, moving on. Well, actually, let's take just a quick look at the news. Tomorrow, we have the BOC rate statement and the overnight rate. So that's another big one. But yeah, after that, pretty clear. Thursday we'll cover on Thursday. We'll do that. Thursday's analysis. Right. Back to AUDJPY. So AUDJPY, I'm not really liking this anymore. I'm going to keep it marked, but this here was, what was the date of that? That was the 17th of May. So Friday the 17th of May, price dropped down to support and gave us a nice little indecision candle. I was looking for a long from here, but then it gapped up last week on Monday. And from there on out, this kind of started to get a bit iffy. I was waiting for it to drop back down into here and form another indecision candle, which it has. But I've just kind of completely lost confidence that buyers could push price away from the support area. So while I'm still watching this, I'm highly unlikely to do anything here, guys. More than anything, I'm waiting for a break below. Doesn't look like buyers are that strong right here at the moment. We're not seeing a big push away from this support area. So I'm waiting for a break below and a possible pullback, a continuation down, but that could take a while. So I'm not horribly or terribly excited over that. EURGBP price is stalling here on resistance, stuck between the 200 moving average, which is acting as support as it usually does, and between our normal support resistance area. Again, this is one I've had marked since last week. I had a quick scan of the charts this morning and I kept it on there. But I'm not really crazy about this. It's I think GBP overall is probably going to start heading down. So even though it's stalling out on this resistance area, I'm not seeing much potential for a short. And also it's really, really messy up here right now. So it just makes the idea of a short quite difficult. I'm still watching this in case it starts to heavily stall out and turn around. But right now, I'm not too sure about that. Now, here on gold, there is a good short trade that has just triggered. I got in this one just very, very shortly before the webinar. I haven't marked my entry down on here exactly. It was about 2.5 hours ago that I got in. So just a few hours before the webinar. You can still get in at pretty much the level I got in at. I got in, I can't remember the exact number. Wait, let me have a look on my phone real quick. All right. I don't know why I'm down on the 1 hour. Let's just go to the daily where the trade was taken from. I don't know what happened to... I'll figure that out later. Right, let me get this. Sorry guys, I should have done this before the webinar, but I just didn't really have the time. Oh, seriously. I'm looking at my phone where the trade is on. I got a new phone, by the way, guys. It's really good for trading. I got the OnePlus 7 and it just came out a few days ago. I'm a big fan of OnePlus. It's a smartphone company. They make some of the best phones out there. The screen is huge. It's so easy for trading. All right, so this is the trade as I have it. Sorry I didn't have that prepared, but like I said, I was a bit busy, so. It looks like a pretty good setup. Let me explain what's going on here. There's still time to enter. You might not get as good as an entry as I did, but you'll be able to catch a good entry on here if you want to get in also. Basically what's going on is price is pushed up to resistance and it's stalling at resistance. Going back to the daily, it's the stop loss I have is a bit tight and I'm thinking about extending it a little bit. But price has been bouncing from this resistance area for a little bit now. So it bounced away from it here. We can see when it moved up to here, it stalled down on it, but it eventually broke through and then came straight back down. But if we look further back to the left, we'll see two very strong bounces here. So it's a pretty solid area of support resistance. And if you look further back, you can see some bounces. But the thing with gold is the support resistance areas, they tend to change really quickly. So looking for history of support resistance isn't really that important. It's more like what we've seen recently. What are the recent bounces? And the recent bounces, they're all from this resistance area. Now price has hit this resistance area and it looks like sellers are entering the market, so bears are entering the market, and things are turning around. So I'm short here with a target down at the support area. That tight stop, it's a bit tight, but it allows me some flexibility in terms of my my target. So I could my minimum target here is around about 2. That's not exactly true. My minimum target is always 1.5R. That's always my minimum. But the minimum I'm really willing to accept on this trade is 2. Now I have it set at just 2.4, which is here. I have it set at 2.4. But I could tighten that if needed. So I'm going to keep this trade open. It's looking quite good. And if you want to enter, don't just blindly enter because I'm in it. Just because I'm in it, it doesn't make it a good trade. This trade does, of course, have some risks, like any trade does. There are a few things with this one in particular that make it a bit iffy. So, for example, around here, price has dropped down to here in the past and then bounced away. Last time it dropped down to here and then continued all the way through. So it's a bit of an iffy, well, not iffy. Iffy is a strong word, but it's not a perfect setup. But I think it has some good potential. If you want to join me on this trade, you can still get in. Even if it drops down a bit further, there's still potential for a good entry. There are some options where you could extend that stop loss out a little bit, get a bit of a tighter stop loss there. I'm going to drop back down to the 1 hour, grab this tool here. Go back to the daily. Yeah, see, why doesn't it show up on the 1 hour, on the daily, that one? It's a bit weird. Right. I think they changed something about how they display these tools. Okay, I'll fix that later. I'll fix my one later. What I wanted to show you guys, sorry that this webinar is a bit messy. Like I said, I normally prep these things beforehand, but today was a bit of a busy morning. There are a few alternate options. I'm just going to go ahead and use this one. There are a few alternate options with how you can manage this trade. You could extend that stop loss, make it a bit of a wider stop because you do have enough room down here to have a bit of a wider stop. So let's say you were to enter now, which is around about here. You could pull your stop loss up to at least here. That gives you a bit more breathing room. So it's not a bad move, and you could keep your target around about down here, which will give you a 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. So there are options with this one, guys. But yeah, I'm going to leave it roughly where my numbers are. I'll fix this up again later. So let's look for some other setups. We got AUDCAD giving us a similar setup to gold, actually. Interesting. Kind of like this one. This is in line with the trend. So we got a nice bearish trend. We got a pullback from that trend here. But if we short here, would be a continuation in line with the overall trend. Got some daily indecision forming on that resistance area. Price hasn't quite broken the low yet, but it is headed back into resistance. Let's see what this does today. I don't like the risk to reward ratio. We'd have to have a very tight target to pull off a good risk to reward ratio here. Nonetheless, there is potential for a setup here, guys, for a short from this resistance area. Right now, it's pushing back up into resistance, but it looks like it could stall out on this resistance area. It would be in line with the trend, so it's not Yeah, it is at some pretty strong lows though. But regardless, it's in line with the trend, so there is some potential here, guys. I'm keeping an eye here on AUDCAD for a short trade. I'm not entering yet because the numbers just don't really look that good. So I'm not entering where it's at now. But what I mean is I'm not putting a pending order down here yet because the numbers aren't that good. I'd prefer for price to push up into this resistance area. That way I can get in a bit higher. So I'm going to keep a very close eye on this one, and I'll decide what to do depending on what price does. Right, AUDCHF, nothing. AUDUSD, nothing. BTC USD. I'm not actively trading this at the moment, but BTC USD is climbing quite nicely. It's at 9,000 now, or very close to it. So for those of you interested in Bitcoin trading, the way it's moving lately, I think we might be able to see some trading opportunities here soon. But right now, there's nothing there. CAD CHF, CAD JPY, nothing much on these ones. Euro AUD, nothing much there. Euro CAD, nothing much. Euro CHF, if you were long already, it would be a long that's not going too well. EURGBP stalling out on support, but it looks like it's about to break through. I'm going to keep an eye on EURGBP for a potential continuation. If price breaks all of these lows here, I would preferably like a pullback to resistance, but I'd be looking for a short continuation. Yeah, this one looks quite good. It's really starting to push down today. There is potential for a continuation here. Perhaps on the lower time frames, but there is potential for a short trade. So what I would like to see here, the setup I would like to see price drop below support, pull back to it, even on the lower time frames, and immediately rush away. So once it breaks below support, support becomes resistance. It pulls back to resistance, hits resistance, and then immediately pulls back, even on the lower time frames, even on the 4 hour, for example. Even if it's just a wick that pokes up, you know, preferably I like to see indecision on the resistance area, but even if it's just a wick that pushes up, that's okay with me. I'll be looking for a short trade from this resistance area. So there's potential for a continuation here. Euro New Zealand. Ooh, that looks decent. So here we have a continuation kind of what I was describing with EURJPY, price breaking below and pulling back. Here it's happened on Euro New Zealand, but to the long side. So price is trending up, it broke up above, it's dropped back down to support. There's potential for a continuation here. Let's see how today's daily candle closes. Let's zoom in a bit so you guys can actually see this. Let's see how today's daily candle closes. If it closes something like this, and then tomorrow's daily candle starts to push up, that'd be a good sign. Now, you could enter possibly on some of the lower time frames, but on the lower time frames, we can see it's been moving sideways for a while. I think this is probably better traded on larger time frames. It looks more like a big move than a short-term move. So I'll be looking for a long trade from here. So let's imagine the daily candle closes exactly as it is now. Then we could do a setup sort of like this. Something like this. So an entry up here, stop loss, a pretty safe stop loss, give it some breathing room, and a target up here somewhere. Maybe that could be a tighter target initially, and that could be extended. So there's potential here for a long continuation. We'll revisit this one tomorrow, guys, and we'll see how it goes. Euro PLN, that's just something I have open because someone shared it on the forum, but it's not something we're going to cover in today's analysis. Euro USD is just moving sideways. I think I adjusted this resistance area for a reason. In a mentoring session, I adjusted it up a little bit because I was explaining something, but the resistance area is more like down here, which it's bouncing from right now. There is potential for a short here, guys. You might have already needed to be in it. Yeah, you would have already needed to be in it. I'm not crazy about this short overall. Is anyone short here on Euro USD? It doesn't look like anyone who's in the room right now is short. I imagine at least someone is, though, on the forum. Doesn't look like it was posted to the forum. Okay, that's a bit of a surprise because it was a pretty nice looking setup. Well, anyway, since no one's in it, like, there's no point tracking it. I'm not in it. No one else is in it, so let's just move on. GBP AUD is pushing. I need to do my support resistance areas for GBP AUD. I've been quite lazy with adjusting my support resistance areas on the website. Sorry, guys. As most of you know, one of the guys who helps out a lot around the site started off as a student in the course, became a successful trader, and then I asked him to help out around the site. He's off on holiday at the moment, George. So I'm taking over some of his workload, which is just making things extra busy for me right now. So those support resistance areas have not been updated in a while. They will get done soon. GBP CHF, GBP JPY. GBP JPY looks like it's headed down. It broke below this support area here, and alright, I was trying to figure out what the support area was based on. So these bounces here. This one being the more recent one, so it should be a bit higher, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So we had a bit of a pullback here. So this is essentially a continuation which occurred more on the lower time frames. Perhaps even the 4 hour. Yeah, it looks like the 4 hour, something like that. Which is already triggered. So it's a bit late to enter this one. I'm not sure if anyone's in this one, but see how price broke below support, pulled back up, hit resistance, and is now continuing down. So this is a continuation trade taken on one of the lower time frames. It didn't really pull away that much, which makes it a bit more difficult to spot this. It only pulled away a tiny bit before shooting up, hitting resistance, and then continuing down. And it's only really started to continue down in the last 4 hour candle. Dropping down to the hourly, it's actually in the last 2 hours that it started to drop. But yeah, if you wanted to get in here, it's a bit late to enter. It's already started to drop, so yeah, too late. GBP New Zealand, nothing much. GBP USD, nothing much. New Zealand CHF pulled back up to resistance. Got a potential continuation here too. I'll keep that marked. I know this is a really weird pair. I just end up having a lot of these really weird pairs open because on the forum, you know, there's hundreds of traders looking at so many different pairs, and every now and then a trader will be like, oh, check out New Zealand CHF, there's a potential setup there. So I'll check it out, and then it stays on my chart. I generally do not trade New Zealand CHF, but hey, it's on there. We have a potential setup there, so why not? New Zealand USD, nothing much. New Zealand USD bounced away from the support area and it's headed up, so it looks like it's stolen out too. This is in a pretty big downtrend also. Dollar index. I'm going to start trading this in the coming months, but I'm not trading it right now. USD CAD. I don't see any setup pairs, just moving sideways. Bit of a mess there on USD CAD. USD CHF. No setup. It's not next to support resistance, nor is USD JPY. Down to some of the weirder pairs, USD NOK and USD SGD. I don't remember why I have this here. I was just trying to illustrate something. I'm not in a trade there. Yeah, this one's trending up quite strong, but nothing really there. Yeah, nothing much here, guys, on silver. It looks you know, you could have been in a short from here, but with all those wicks and stuff, it's a bit messy. And yeah, that wraps it up for the analysis, guys. Let's just do a quick review. Being a bit of a long analysis session, I've been getting a bit sidetracked and just blabbering on. So let's do a quick review. I'm long on New Zealand CAD. I'm planning on holding this position till the end of the day. I'm going to be closing out by the end of the day because of all the New Zealand news that's happening overnight, starting at 10 p.m. Through to something like 2:30 a.m. if I recall. This is all UK times. We've got like a bunch of New Zealand news coming out. So I'm going to be closing this position out around about then. I'm short on gold. Just going to keep this one open, see how it plays out. There's potential to still get in. Don't just jump in because I'm in this trade. Do your analysis. It's so important that you do your own analysis and you decide whether the trade's worth it for you. First of all, the reason why is I'm not that experienced trading gold. This is something I've only started trading actively since, I can't remember exactly. I think it was late last year that I started actively trading gold. So I haven't got that much experience trading this pair. This pair is a lot more random than other pairs, than a normal Forex pair. So I'm trading this with a reduced risk. I have reduced risk on this. Don't just blindly jump into a trade because I'm in it. That's not how you trade. That's just purely a stupid way to trade. Just because I'm in it doesn't make it a good trade. I've assessed the risk. I think it's worth it for me, but it's not the best setup, and I have a tight stop loss too. So this one, in my books, is a higher risk than a normal setup I would take. I'm just in it because at this point with my gold trading, I'm at the data collection point where I'm going to take a bunch of trades and I'm going to see how they play out. And then when I've got like 20-ish trades on here, which could take quite some time, but when I've got 20-ish trades on here, I'm going to, or even 30 would be better, but because it's a single pair, 20 is a more realistic target. I'm going to look at the data in my trading journal and I'm going to try and figure out, are these gold trades profitable? And if they are profitable, what are the tweaks I can make to make them more profitable? Maybe these require tighter targets. Maybe these require wider stop losses, whatever. I'm going to figure out what are the tweaks I can do to make them more profitable. What are the tweaks I can do to avoid some of the losses? So right now, this isn't a testing stage for me overall. While I'm trading live real money, it's still a testing stage. I'm risking less money than I normally would. Gold is in a testing stage for me at the moment. Don't blindly jump into a trade just because I'm in it. Use your own brain and do your own analysis. AUDJPY, I have this marked for potential long, but also for potential short if it breaks through here and pulls back. I'd rather see that short because the long is very, very tricky right now and it's not doing much. EURGBP, there's still potential for a short here if it continues to stall out, but it really looks like it's going to break through. So there's also potential for a long continuation, which would be the ideal situation. Rather go long than go short here. AUDCAD's pulled up to resistance, so there is a potential short here in line with the downtrend. I'm looking for price to push further into resistance and give me indecision. EURJPY looks like it's breaking through support, so there's potential for a short continuation here. Ideally, I like to see a break a bit lower, a pullback, and then a continuation. That'd be the ideal situation. Very similar to what we're seeing here on Euro New Zealand, where price broke through resistance, is pulling back and is now stalling out for a potential continuation. So I'm looking here for price to stall out, which it already is doing. I'm looking for the daily candle to close, and then I'll be looking for a potential long. New Zealand CHF, very similar. We've got a potential continuation here. Price is hitting resistance, so I'm looking for a potential short there. With this one, I want to see price push further into this resistance area though, or at least I want to see today's candle close similar to what it is now for a potential short. I'm probably not going to trade New Zealand CHF if I'm being completely honest. I haven't marked because there is a potential setup there, but this is not a pair I would commonly trade. Are there any questions, guys? Thanks, Sonia. Just going to wait a few more seconds in case there's questions. Doesn't look like there is, so I'm going to wrap this one up, guys. If any questions do come to mind, just ask in the forum. I'm going to be in the forum all week today. I'm a little bit busy this week. But yeah, I'll be on the forum. So yeah, let's wrap this one up, guys. Thank you for attending, and I'll see you for tomorrow's members only analysis, which should be starting at the normal time of 10 AM instead of 9 AM. So I'll see you guys later.